Hey guys, if you haven't already, give the video a like, subscribe to my channel. This is a what if series and I'll be doing more down the road. Plus Ultra!
Hey guys, and welcome to What If Deku Was a Saiyan Part 3. So this is part 3 to What If Deku Was a Saiyan. Now, we left off with Deku and Bakugo having an intensifying battle with each other within the battle trial arc. And it ended with Deku redirecting Bakugo's blast to save, well, not save Ochaku, but to get Ochaku a lead way to get to the bomb. And I haven't mentioned Tenya Ida in none of that. Tenya Ida was more in the background trying to decide what that shaking was, possibly like if it's an earthquake or something like that. And then when the huge explosion like thing happened, Tenya Ida was caught off guard with this. And this is the part where Deku gave the lead way for Chaku to get up there. He slung Chaku towards the bomb, and then him and Baku would get back into, well, not get back into their scuffle, but Bakugo has been beaten by Deku multiple times, and this is the one pillar he's trying to reach. And you can tell that Bakugo takes something every time him and Deku fights. He takes something from that fight, and he tries to improve on it. Now Bakugo is going to be far stronger than his original counter, as he has someone that he has to reach. He has to climb towards, and Deku sees this every time they spar against each other. That Bakugo is improving every time they spar. It's like when he beats Bakugo down, he comes back only to get stronger. Yes. So Deku is out training like I said he was doing. He's training to find something else other than his wrathful form. And Deku just training, throwing off kicks and stuff like that. He's just doing push-ups, sit-ups and stuff, and just basically working out his body, but mostly working out his martial arts and stuff like that. So Deku has become, well, not yes, he's become something of a martial arts master. And that's due to the fact that his quirk has that factor to where when you training you adapt, you constantly learn, you constantly improve. And yeah, so as everything progresses, class 1 are in class, and this is where Shoto Ozawa announces the USJ arc. And in simulations he tells people, well, tells them that they're gonna have to learn that hero work isn't all about like, well, basically going out rescuing bad guys and stuff like that. It means going to be setting up like rescue missions or whatever the USJ was about. Now everyone gets on the bus, and Froppy, she comes to sit next to Deku, and this is where Deku would look at Froppy because Bakugo, he was sitting next to Kirishima. Now him and Kirishima have got that like bro kind of connection with each other, like somewhat similar to the friendship that they had in the anime. And like Suyu, she would sit next to Deku and she would ask, "Yo, Deku, I've basically seen everyone's quirk around the bus and everything, but I wonder, what is your quirk? Like, what can you do?" Now, Deku would look at Suyu and he would say, "My quirk is called Legendary Saiyan," or something like that. Anyway, it gives me enhanced speed, enhanced endurance, enhanced perception, enhanced physical strength, and stuff like that. Or it just, it is what, so Suyu would come to a conclusion. So it's like an enhancement quirk or something. I wouldn't say an enhancement quirk because that would be some hell of an enhancement that it gives me. It's like every time that I'm battling against an opponent, I come back stronger than before. And Bakugo thinks to himself, so that's how he keeps adapting and keeps improving. Every time we fight against each other, it's like he always has a new trick to pull out. Now, the rest of Class 1A would be very, very interested in it. And it can say that, well, Tenya Ida had a response to this and would, like, respond with Deku saying, well, he would say that, "Do you have some kind of super speed quirk too?" Deku would say, "No, I don't. I just said, well, my quirk has to do with something of Legendary Saiyan and like a speed factor. I can possibly do say I'm faster than you are." And that's not an understatement, as I've been proven to be fast all my life. I mean, my perception, my speed, and stuff like that just comes with what my quirk gives me. Everything would go the same way with them. Like everyone asking Deku questions about his power, his quirk, and everything, and he's giving them answers, and the talk would just go as smoothly as in canon. Now they would get off the bus and be escorted into the USJ by 13. And 13 would say that they were going on rescue missions and stuff. And Shoto Aizawa would be escorting his students in. And this is where Deku would have his senses just go off and get in battle mode. Deku instantly just gets into a fighting stance and tells them that we got company and they're coming from that direction. Deku points to a black purplish swirl coming out in the open, and this is where Deku, like, he starts to loosen up and he looks at Shoto Aizawa and he says, so when are we hiring actors? This is this part of the whole USJ thing? Deku's keeping his bearings, like he's keeping his battle stance because he doesn't know if it's real or fake. Shoto Aizawa tells them that those are not villains and to get back, and this is where Deku Bakugo cracks their knuckles and shoots off. The two students shoots off towards the villains and starts hitting each and every one of them, going through them and having the time of their life. Now this catches Shigaraki off guard, and Shigaraki tells Kurogiri to act. We have a mission to do. Get these two out of here. Now Shigaraki would throw his portals all around, and Deku would be swung into a portal with Mineta and Tsuyu, and they would all fall into water, and Deku would be like, "Aw, that sucks." So Deku would see a shark come towards him, and this is where Deku would just extend his hand and blast the shark man, whatever he was, and this would make dude render unconscious. Now Deku would jump out of the water and land on the boat that was in the water. Now Deku would be looking around for who, like, if he senses any one of his friends' energy or anyone that's close by. Tsuyu and Mineta would instantly, like, she would slam Mineta on top of the boat and she would jump on there herself, and this is where Deku would say, so here, you guys, climb onto me. So Tsuyu and Mineta, well, would grab onto Deku, and Deku would just float up into the air, and he would charge up a ki blast in his hand, and he would shoot it towards the water. And this is where Deku would say, Mineta, throw those things off your head. I know they have some kind of sticky properties towards them. Mineta would say, how do you know that? And Deku would say, intellect. Or just a lucky guess, I guess. Anyway, Mineta would throw his sticky balls into the water, and all of them would bunch up together, and this is where they would all fly back to where the other students are at. Now, this is where Deku would be met with a horrible sight as he sees the Nobu on top of Shoto Aizawa. Now, Deku would rush and kick the Nomu off of Shoto Aizawa, and this is where he would get into a one-on-one battle with the beast. Now, none of Deku's attacks are working because they seem as if every time he hits the Nomu, he instantly regenerates. Now, Deku's throwing off some very hard, ferocious attacks at the Nomu, and this is where Nomu punches Deku in the stomach and kicks him back. And then, all of a sudden, the Nomu is right behind Deku, grabs him by the leg, and starts slamming him against the ground over and over and over again, and then kicks Deku into a wall, and then right there in front of Deku and starts barraging him with a whole like ton of punches. Deku erupts in a greenish yellow aura and like the pressure. I'm sorry, I stuttered there. But the pressure of the aura exploded and pushed the Nomu back. Now Deku is walking out of the rubble, well, like he's battle damaged, and he looks at the Nomu and he says, "So, I wanted to wait before I just went all out because I didn't know what kind of like test or simulation thing this was gonna be. But if you're gonna basically try to kill my teacher, then I have no reason to hold back against you." Now Deku would realize that he's waiting for this like thing to respond to him, but Deku would realize that he's talking to a brainless tool. And this is where Deku would power up, and his aura would fluctuate, and he would basically charge up, and this greenish yellow aura would just suddenly just turn pure green, and Deku would explode into the air with a huge amount of energy. Now Deku would float back down to the ground, and his hair would be yellow, and Deku would say to himself, so this is what I was looking for. Okay, so that raffle form is meant for just anger and ballistic rage, while this form has some kind of control to it, while it still has that rage factor. I gotta get used to this, as I can't keep this form on for too long, possibly 3 minutes at tops, as I just got this form. I have to end this real quickly. So Deku and Inomu would rush at each other, and you could feel the wind pressure and the speed from these two sad individuals as they're punching each other. Deku's getting punched by all the ferocious attacks that the Nomu's throwing at him, but Deku's basically eating every last one of these, and he's hitting the Nomu with ease. Now, the Nomu is feeling pressure, and he's feeling pressure that he can't, the Nomu cannot regenerate, and his shock absorption cannot take these hits. And Deku thinks to himself that it's only going to take about maybe even 4 to 3 hits to knock this guy out. So Deku does his signature pose or signature move sets, and he hits the Nomu with very like 4 stylish punches. Deku then finishes it off and says, get into a stance similar to how a Kamehameha stance is, but he has a green orb in his hand and he blasted the Nomu, and the Nomu had a hole in its chest. Now Deku would instantly charge up another like another blast in his like cupped hands, and he would blast the Nomu again. Now the Nomu is disintegrated and not regenerating from this. Shigaraki would be shocked, and Deku would point at Shigaraki saying, "You're next." Kurogiri would rush as fast as he can to save Shigaraki and teleport them out of there, with Shigaraki's like scratching his neck till blood came out, and he would take off the hands on his face, and smile at Deku and say, "The next time I see you, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill everyone you care about. You got in my way." And the portal would close. Deku would be saying, "Wait, is that it?" And then the power would basically evaporate off Deku. Now Deku would revert back to his base form, and this is where his body would have like a heart pounding moment. Like you would hear his heart, like Deku would feel his heart bump through his chest, like boop boop, and he would fall to the ground. Now Deku would be breathing very, very heavily as he's basically just being cocky right now, and his body exerted way too much power than it can handle. Deku needs more training. So Deku gets up and says, "Okay, I gotta stop overdoing it, but it's so exciting to just see how far I've come." Now Deku looks back at his classmates, and everyone seeming to be like basically getting all the villains rounded up. Now Deku walks to Shoto Aizawa, and he instantly takes him to Recovery Girl so he can get healed up and basically just gets patched up from his wounds. Now this is where Tenya would arrive back with All Might and most of the heroes, and most of the heroes would just look at Deku and he would tell them that he cleaned everything up. But he would go towards All Might, and him and All Might would get into a private conversation. And this is where Deku would say, "Yo, All Might, so these villains were after you. These villains were trying to kill you. They think that because the symbol of peace has a huge weakness, and that wound on your chest, body, they're trying to exploit that weakness. I don't want to see you die. Well, at least not yet. But you should be highly careful, as they're going to try to use people that are closest to you, students, any innocent civilians, or whatever they can get their hands on. I don't know much about these guys, but I know that they wanted to create this basically whole setup to kill students or whatever they intended to do, to draw you in so they could kill you. And from the looks of it, they might have succeeded. They had this kind of beast named Nomu. And this is where All Might would say, "What? A Nomu? Well, it was programmed to beat you in battle, but I defeated it." And he would say, "And how did you do that, Izuku Midoriya?" "Well, outspeeding it. It only took like 3 or 4 punches, and I did it like simultaneously. But in the long run, I just wanted to let you know that you should be careful. These villains out there creating weapons that might potentially kill you one day, or if you don't retire soon." So this is where Deku walks off, and he looks back at All Might and he tells him, "I really hope Mirio can truly live up to your expectations and become the #1 hero, because the symbol of peace is at its end date. There needs to be another symbol of peace. It's either going to be me or that Mirio kid." And the both of them would walk over, and All Might would just scratch his head, and he would just say, "So they're out there creating weapons to defeat me, huh?" And this would give All Might much to think about. Now, Izuku just walks back off, and he bumps into Mirio, who was listening in on the conversation. And this is what scares Izuku, because he can never get to Mirio's premonition, or like his ability to just phase through walls like that. And it scared the hell out of Izuku, and Izuku just looked at him and tells him to stop doing that. Jesus Christ. So, Mirio, I take it you were listening in on that? And he would say, "Yeah," as Mirio leans against the wall. Deku would say, "The symbol of peace, well, All Might, I guess I know Night Eye told you about his wound. Muriel would be like at a crossroads now because he wants to know like if he can become his own hero and like what kind of path that's gonna lead him down. Now Deku is telling Muriel that basically you're gonna have to become the symbol of peace a lot sooner than you think. And these League of Villains, I can tell that they're only gonna get stronger. Now, Mirio and Deku would start talking about like there's just talking and stuff, catching up, and they would part ways. Now, Deku would go to train to get ready for something of an event that's coming up, and Deku wants to be the best that he can be. Now, Deku and Bakugo meet up after him and Mirio got done talking, and Deku and Bakugo meet up, and this is where Deku tells Bakugo, "Let's train." I don't know if this is going to happen soonly, but I know the sports festival is about to come up, and I want to be at my best, and I need a training partner. And you seem to be very proficient in growing stronger, so let's train, Bakugo. Well, Kachan. So both of them would engage in battle and start training with each other, and they would see some substantial growth. Now, Deku substantial growth. Now Deku would have had increased the time limit on how his like Saiyan powers would work, and for those of you who don't know, this is called Super Saiyan. So Deku can now stay in Super Saiyan for about like 10 to 11 minutes at a time. It was a good increase and a good Zenkai boost from a previous time limit. So given the fact that he did that transformation in a day and it was up the time limit to like 10 minutes right now, yeah, and it doesn't take that much strain, but if he tries to push himself in keeping the form after the time limit, it's going to put some strain on his body. But Deku can handle it. So Deku and Bakugo would instantly be training with each other, and they would be exchanging blows, exchanging attacks with each other, and Bakugo would be coming up with some interesting attacks. And this is where he would extend his hand out to Deku as they're fighting, and this orb of energy would create in Bakugo's hand, and he would blast it at Deku. Deku would dodge this narrowly, and the both of them would get into stance to where they looking at each other very eagerly. One of them trying to participate the other one's moves, and Deku's doing a good job at this in his wrathful form. Bakugo has gotten so used to how Deku's wrathful form works. He's gotten so used to the moveset of it, the speed of it, the battle power of it, the strength of it. Deku's wondering how to counter Bakugo, but he doesn't want to overwhelm his friend. So the both of them are basically punching. You can feel the energy off of each hit, and you can feel the energy off of each blast they throw at each other. Bakugo throwing off an explosion blast while Deku's throwing off a ki blast at each other. And the impact would send the ground like it would cause a lot of damage to the battlefield that they were at. Well, not battlefield, but the forest area. It was causing a lot of damage. And Deku and Bakugo, keep in mind this was in a remote area, so it wasn't causing too many casualties. So not any casualties at all. I don't want to say too many casualties. Not any casualties at all. It wasn't like they were killing people. It was abandoned. Put it that way. Now, in the midst of their fight, Bakugo tells Deku to get serious as he knows Deku has another power that he's hiding from him. But not hiding from him. Because, yeah, hiding from him. Deku is not using Super Saiyan against Bakugo. He's hiding that power right now because he doesn't want to overwhelm Bakugo. Now, if he transforms into that, he feels like it's just going to be a breeze and he's going to be basically beat Bakugo again like very easily. Now, Bakugo tells Deku to basically use his full power as he's going to go all out. Now, Bakugo erupts in this like explosion like aura around him, and you can see this yellowish oranges flames just like irradiating around Bakugo, and this is where Bakugo tells Deku to get serious as Bakugo hair stands up. Now, Bakugo has a similar transformation due to the fact of where he had One For All in Heroes Rising. I'm not spoiling anything, but just it's similar to that. So Bakugo hair stands up and he has these shocks going around his body, and his aura just immediates over him, and it explodes. Bakugo charges at Deku and punches him in the stomach hard, sending Deku into nearby dozens of trees. And Bakugo's right behind Deku and elbows him in the back, sending Deku into the ground with a huge groundbreaking smash. Now the two of them are moving so fast, it's like the colors are just be basically drawn in lines as the both of the colors just hitting each other over and over again, and you can feel the pressure from each and every hit that they're implementing. Now, this is drawing attention to where they're at, and they notify some heroes that there's a huge battle that's going on in the abandoned like district over there where the trees are. And All Might is going to go check it out as he feels like it might be villains over there battling against each other or something like that. So All Might is on his way over there. Now, as Deku and Bakugo are basically engaging in battle, this is where Bakugo tells Deku to get serious as Bakugo has gained the upper hand over Deku. Now, Deku's looking at Bakugo and he smiles as Bakugo is indeed getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And Deku smiles at this and he powers up into his Super Saiyan form, exploding in aura. Now, Deku says, due to all this training, I can hold this form for at least 10 minutes now, and it's a good upgrade from what I used to be able to control. Let's have a good fight, Bakugo. As the both of them would engage in battle, and the battle would be explosive. And this is where All Might would see the two battling against each other, and it would be heavily battle damage. Both of them bleeding from the head, the nose, the mouth, their clothes, battle damage. And Bakugo has a broken arm. Deku has a broken both of them. Well, Bakugo has a broken arm. Deku is just battle damage, and he's keeping his stance where very centered. Deku has no broken bones or anything like that, but he's very wounded. You can feel a bunch like he has some cracked ribs and some burn marks on his body and stuff like that. But Deku just keeping his composure as Bakugo's arm is very rendered useless from all the recoil, the recoil of the explosion from the attacks that he used. So let's do some little peeking of what I basically gave Bakugo. So Bakugo has this energy aura by gathering all the sweat in his wrists or in his palms, and he gathers it into a blast. So the recoil from this blast won't be it will strain his arm when he first used it, but Bakugo kept spamming the attack over and over and over again as Deku and him are training. So Bakugo's arm would have felt the recoil off of that and it would have broke. Now let's get back into the fight as when All Might's there, he tells the both of them to stop, and the both of them look down at All Might, and he sees that the both of them are floating in the air. Now Bakugo notices this as he was using his explosion to propel himself in the air, and they would both all touch down back on the terrain. Now they would look around as the destruction that they caused in the nearby, the area, and they would just scratch the back of their heads and say sorry. Now, they would return home with All Might scolding them that they should just tone it down with the training a little bit as the both of them are very destructive, and what if innocent civilians were there? Now, this is where Deku thinks about that and he says, no, that's good because they weren't there. I thought about that, All Might, so no worries. And All Might would say, all right, Izuku. Young Izuku, young Midoriya. And he's stuttering a lot. Anyway, so Bakugo and Deku would bump fists and they would head home and get ready for the next day of class and get ready for the sports festival to begin. And that's all I have for you guys for today. Tell me what you guys thought of this episode. If you liked it, if you loved it, tell me your support. And I'm also going to be putting a poll out there to feel like I want you guys to tell me who should the ship be. I'm going to put a poll out there, but if I look in the comments and I want to pick one, I'm just going to pick one probably this time around. But anyway, without any further ado, you guys have a good day, a good night, and plus ultra. Good night, guys.